Comparative and Superlative Adjectives. Adjectives. Adjectives are words that describe or modify nouns and pronouns. Remember, nouns and pronouns are words that refer to people, places, and things. So adjectives describe or modify people, places, and things. Here's an example of a sentence using an adjective.
The helpful robot cleaned my room.
The adjective helpful is describing the robot.
He's friendlier than that killer robot that tried to eradicate humanity.
The adjective killer is describing the robot, as is the adjective friendlier. But the adjective friendlier is performing an additional function. It is not only describing the robots, it is comparing them. That makes friendlier a comparative adjective. Comparative adjectives, like all adjectives, describe nouns and pronouns, but they also compare them. They compare two nouns or groups of nouns. Here's an example of a sentence using comparative adjectives.
Elephants are bigger than mice, but size isn't everything.
The adjective bigger is describing the size of the mice and elephants, and it is also comparing them. To make comparative adjectives, we usually just add er to the adjective. So the adjective fast would become faster. But if the adjective ends with a y, we drop the y and add ier. So the adjective tidy would become tidier. Now, if the word is longer than 2 syllables, we don't add anything. We just use the word more. So for example, the adjective intelligent is 4 syllables. So rather than saying intelligenter or intelligentier, we say more intelligent. Superlative adjectives. Superlative adjectives are similar to comparative adjectives in that they compare nouns or groups of nouns, but they're used in comparisons that represent the greatest or highest degree. Superlative adjectives are applied to nouns that are the best or greatest at something. For example,
Lightning Bill Bradley has the fastest draw in the West.
the adjective fastest is describing the speed of Lightning Bill Bradley's draw, but it's also comparing his draw to all other draws and making the claim that his draw is the quickest. To make superlative adjectives, we usually just add est to the adjective. So the adjective fast would become fastest in superlative form. But if the adjective ends with a y, we drop the y, like in comparative adjectives, and we add iest, usually, most of the time. So the adjective tidy would become tidiest in superlative form. If the word is longer than 2 syllables, we don't add anything. We just use the word most. So the adjective intelligent would become most intelligent in superlative form. Here's some examples of sentences using either comparative or superlative adjectives.
Officer Burberry is shorter than most of the other police officers on the force.
Which word in this sentence is an adjective, and is it a comparative or superlative adjective? The adjective in this sentence is shorter, and it's a comparative adjective. It is comparing Officer Burberry's height to all of the other police officers on the force. Here's another example of a sentence using comparative or superlative adjectives.
When Jean-Pierre heard that Claudette was coming to his apartment, he put on his fanciest scarf.
Which word in this sentence is functioning as an adjective, and is it a comparative or superlative adjective? In this sentence, the adjective is fanciest, and it's comparing Jean-Pierre's scarf to all the other scarves that he owns and expressing that this scarf is more fancy than all of the other scarves. There is no scarf that Jean-Pierre owns that is fancier than this scarf that he has selected. So fanciest is a superlative adjective. Here's one more example of a sentence using comparative and superlative adjectives.
Bertha is taller than Brandon, but Brian is the tallest student in our class.
Which word is a comparative adjective in this sentence, and which is a superlative? The word taller is a comparative adjective. It is comparing Bertha and Brandon's height. The word tallest is a superlative adjective. It is comparing Brian's height to both Bertha and Brandon's and expressing that Brian's height is greater than all other students in that class. In review, comparative adjectives compare two things. Superlative adjectives compare one thing to other things and express that it is of the highest degree. Adjectives that have more than 2 syllables will take the word more or most to form the comparative and superlative forms.